Before others join, do you have any questions in the first session? Discuss. Arun. Yeah. We are discussing about this flashpoint, as I mentioned. It is about the at what temperature. I mean, what is the at least temperature where the chemical will give the enough vapors to ignite if any ignition source is available nearby. That is the one. Then auto ignition temperature. What does mean by this? Auto ignition. The word itself, it is giving auto, automatically, which is now automatic cars are there, no gear and all. With the automatic engines. So it is auto ignition means it is the lowest temperature at which a material begins to burn in air without any contact of spark or flame. So it is about the auto ignition temperature. అంటే ఏంటంటే తనంతట తానే మండిపోయే స్వభావం కలిగి ఉన్న మెటీరియల్స్. During heating, if the material decomposes, the decomposed chemical may auto-ignite at some other temperature. Different test methods given different auto-ignition temperatures for the same material. Therefore, this value is an estimation. A material should be stored, processed, or handled well below its auto-ignition temperatures. It is also used for the storage purpose of the chemicals and also the handling measures for the handling of chemicals. So it is an approximate value. It is not like that at certain degree it will definitely burn or definitely ignite. Is it approximate? And trump card. This is also one of the keyword which is very useful. Uh, Especially while transportation of chemicals from one place to other place. So if you see a transport emergency card, which is also called as a trump card, are given to the drivers carrying dangerous goods for emergency information, which may be needed at any time during the journey. So this space is for, this trump card is for in case of any emergency, it is required to use in case of any spillage or in case of any fire happens during the transportation of chemical. The trem card contains various details, which are nature of the chemical, hazards involved, and protective devices, and emergency action for a fire, spillage, leakage, and also first aid measures. So these are the various details which the trem card contains. ఏంటి స్పిల్లేజ్ అయితే ఏం చేయాలి, ఫైర్ అయితే ఏం చేయాలి, తర్వాత ఆ కెమికల్ తోటి ఎలాంటి ప్రమాదాలు గురించి ఉన్నాయి, ఆ కెమికల్ యొక్క నేచర్. సో ఇవన్నీ కూడాను వేరియస్ కైండ్ ఆఫ్ ఇన్ఫర్మేషన్ which is available in the trend. Now we'll see what are the safety precautions or supervision and also medical examinations to be followed while handling these kind of chemicals. The dangers of working with chemical substances can be reduced to a minimum by observing certain simple basic rules. One is gaseous, liquid, or solid chemical substances, and whose properties are not fully known and should be treated as dangerous and handled very carefully. And other one is avoid contact with the chemical substances, and chemical should be always be handled mechanically or with the protective equipments and the containers and the implement which can be contaminated with materials and should be handled wearing gloves. In special cases, additional protective measures will be utilized. So these are the various methods to be followed while handling the chemical. Then cleanliness, it is a basic requirement for safe working with chemicals, and emission of dust, vapors, and the gases, and the spillage of the liquids and also the solids can be largely eliminated by a careful working or local ventilation or installations must be used. So cleanliness means whatever the spillages happens or leakages happens, it has to be cleared immediately. Then chemical substances should always be used exactly according to the written procedure, and anyone deviating from the procedure to this known to own responsibility, it is a danger to himself or others. So whatever the substances they are using, they should use in such a way that they should understand there is a potential hazard which is there with the chemical, so that they should own the responsibility in case of any accident or spillage happens with that chemical. And chemical should be only be used when the drums or sacks, containers, or any pipelines containing them or clearly labeled, ensures that the product name or delivery numbers on the numbers, and also delivery note coincide. Through the appearance alone is no guarantee of correct identity, and a visual check should be made. In case of doubt or when a mix-up has actually occurred, a report must be made immediately. So it is telling about identification of chemicals. So how you are identifying the chemical. Sometimes by seeing thinner, it looks like a water being an appearance, but it is not water. We should not conclude the chemical by seeing the appearance of it. The chemical should be only handled in a proper drums, sacks and containers, or a pipeline containing them are clearly labeled. So until unless you are not labeled the chemical, what will happen? We can't understand the real requirements of that or hazards of that chemical. Now, many highly reactive chemicals may only be used under strictly controlled conditions for substances which react violently with the water, and the water contact should be avoided. So I'll take an example as a sodium, which is highly uh, water reactive. So this sodium is stored in the immersed conditions. Immersed means the ఏదైనా ఒక oil లో దాన్ని స్టోర్ చేసి ఉంచుతారు. It will not supposed to expose with any atmosphere condition also, not about water. Even though the water concentration in the general atmosphere also is highly incompatible with this kind of chemicals. Substances which decompose dangerously under the influence of air or elevated temperature, impact or pressure or contact with the catalyst, and the appropriate safety measures contained in the written procedure should be followed. Dry at low temperatures and releases the vacuum in the vacuum dryers with an inert gas instead of air. And do not open the dryer before room temperature has been attained. And release the vacuum in vacuum installations with an inert gas. Expose distillation residues to the air only when it is cold. So distillation reduce. Distillation means it is another kind of the process where we expose the temperature with the expose the material with the temperature. So at certain temperatures, we try to recover or try to remove certain elements in that material. For example, crude oil. From crude oil, we used to extract petrol, diesel, other oils by using this distillation process. Handle and store catalyst only under the specially defined conditions and prevent the components which are particularly prone to decomposition. So catalyst is nothing but, I can say it is an encouragement to the chemical. It is only boost up the reaction process. For example, if I take any chemical reaction, if I use any catalyst, so what will happen? It will increase the rate of reaction. The reaction rate and the speed ni పెంచుతుంది. But it will not a part of reaction. అంటే chemical లో ఎటువంటి చేంజ్ అనేది ఉండదు. But it will increase the rate of reaction. Substances which ignite spontaneously, that is auto ignition materials, white phosphorus, pyrophoric catalyst, etc., should be handled under an inert gas or liquid. Where necessary, wear a special protective clothing. Keep the prescribed means of extinguishing on hand. Then prevent the possibility of any dangerous combinations. Follow the written procedure passively when preparing any work, and ensure complete separation of components which are danger when it is mixed. And with respect to the explosives, not only actual explosives, but also enormous widely used chemicals can explode when exposed to catalyst, heat, or impact. Not only the category of explosive chemicals will explode. This means to say that there are other chemicals also can explode if they interact with heat, if they interact with any catalyst, or if they interact with any impact. And acetylene and derivatives and acetyl nitrite and acrylic acid and its esters, etc., are having such kind of nature. Then chemicals which are spilled or contained should be simply discarded in the refuse bins and but disposed of according to the instruction from the supervisor. And the quantities of the chemicals stored in a chemical plant at any time should be kept to the minimum required for a normal working. So whatever the quantities of the chemical stored in a chemical plant, anytime should be kept to the minimum required quantities. It's normal working. You should not store more than ఎక్కువ కావాల్సిన మోతాదులోనే దాన్ని పెట్టుకోవాలి. అంతకుమించి ఎక్కువ మోతాదులో మనం పెట్టుకోకూడదు. Before starting any process, raw materials, their properties like MSDS or chemical reaction and its working temperature and pressure and flow and additions rate and type of vessel and its safety fittings or emergency controls, planning and procedure evaluation of winning gases or a complete reaction document, and how it can go wrong, and also what could be the consequences, type of ventilation is required, what kind of electric fittings or and PPs are required, tips and alarms, and safe closure downs and procedures must be known and studied. So in any process, a process start you should be aware about the hazards of the chemical, the properties of the chemical, and the controls of the chemical, what kind of alarms or trips are which is required for the chemical. Everything should be known. If you're not unknown, you should read and understand. Now we'll see the supervision by qualified supervisors. This is one of the Factories Act requirement, legal requirement for the chemical industries, so where they operate. So if you see this requirement, they're asking about the qualified supervisors are required to supervise handling of hazardous substances, rule which is 68S of AP Factories rules also same. BSc or MSc with a chemistry or diploma or degree in a chemical engineering with experiences. So information to the workers. So what kind of information we should supposed to give? ఎటువంటి information workers అనే వాళ్ళకి తెలుసు. One is the material safety data sheet, which is MS DS and R682 in respect of every hazardous substances handled in the manufacturing, transportation, and storage in the factory, and their location availability to the workers. So it is not about only the information given to the workers. In case if they require, they should able to refer immediately. Then list of hazardous processes carried in the factory. So what kind of hazardous processes which are carrying in the industry, but also should be informed. Then physical and also health hazards arising from the exposure to the handling of substances. What kind of physical hazards and what kind of health hazards? will be there with the substances which they are exposed to. Then safety and control measures taken for the hazards which are identified. We should inform to the people. Then measures to be taken by the workers to ensure safe handling, storage, and also transportation of hazardous substances. They should be known what are the measures to be taken. They should be well aware. They should be handling or transportation, how to handle, how to transport. All these things has to be taken care. PPE to be used by the workers. What kind of personal protective equipments to be used that also need to be done. Then a meaning of the labels and also the markings on the containers. So whatever the labels which they have done. So for the labels also, they have to give the meanings. Then also the markings on the containers about the hazards and also the safety warning labels. Then signages and symptoms likely to be manifested on exposure to the hazardous substances and to who to report and measures to remove the spillage or leakage of hazardous substance and role of the workers in the emergency plan and evacuation procedure to be followed or any further information which is required but also to be given and on-site emergency plan and also safety measures are required to be taken and health records should be made available to the workers. So the health records with respect to the health who are exposing to the chemicals or hazard substances, it should be available. Then hazard communication system including safety and risk studies. So how you are communicating hazards to the workers. You see here a qualitative description like health hazard, flammability hazard, reactivity hazard, electrical hazard or mechanical hazard, all over silvery hazards. And display hazards, how what we do by warning. So how we can communicate? Displaying the type of the hazard, like warning labels or control indicating signages or any posters. Then safe permissible limits. These are the safe permissible limits to the exposed materials. One like any chemical we have threshold limit values like steel short-term exposure limit. Basically, this steel is calculated for 15 minutes of duration. And other one is LD50, lethal dose, and also LC50, DBA, etc. These threshold quantities of the hazardous chemicals as per the given manufacturer storage and also hazardous chemicals, which is 1989. So this is as per the MSIC rules we have to follow. See here, these are the various kinds of ways of communication. So explosives or spraying substances, toxic, etc. etc. So this will be used for to communicate the hazards associated with the chemicals where they are exposing. Case number we have seen Hazakam, dot and also SLOS. SLOS, I'm not sure. I think more very old version nowadays. You can't see anything like this kind of naming in the MSDS. And the class label for emergency information. Then index like Dow Zone Index are known, which is emergency hazard facility, and hazard gradation by number of giving by NFPA, National Fire Protection Association. They are also given the numbers with the color coding of the chemicals, which is like red, blue, yellow, and white. Then other safety and the risk phrases. Phrases means the communication of the risk. So if you see here, NFPA, National Fire Protection Association, by nature of the chemical, they have divided all the chemicals into four categories with a diamond symbol. They can symbol like this. Okay, probably next class we will see that number. Okay, they'll put a diamond inside the diamond. They will indicate a color and then they'll indicate a number. So this number shows us the potential severity or the hazard of the chemical. For example, if you see here, a health hazard, which is in a blue color, it is a flammability, it is in red color, if it is in a reactivity, it is in yellow color. So if you see a health hazard in a symbol, better what I do is I'll stop sharing. I'll just take that image and I'll explain it better. So that you can have any confusion. And not here. You can also type in your mobile here diamond so that you get this chat. I don't know whether you are able to read it. So, one second. Oh, Santosh, to get this image, I've just mentioned actually. Hope you're able to see it. So this is how NFPA given the color coding for the different hazards. Based on the hazard, they have categorized all the chemicals into this four category. Like health hazard, if you see any chemical, it will have this blue color diamond. If it is in a flammability, it will given this color diamond. And if it is in a reactivity, it will have a yellow color diamond. If it is apart from all these hazards, any other hazards like oxidizing substance or any water reactive, etc., etc., it will have this white color diamond. So apart from this, you will see inside these numbers also. For example, I also show you. One second, I'm again stopping sharing. I have to take another picture with the PPT. Yeah, if you're able to see. So this is the other way of representing. Basically, what will happen? If you see any symbol, they'll not write all these things and all. They'll just put the symbol and inside the diamond, they will give a number. So now we have to see what this two indicates. Indicates for below 200 degree Fahrenheit. One indicates unstable of if heated. If it is a reactivity, yellow diamond, if you see it for one, the one is talking about unstable if heated. Unstable means what? Until unless you are not heated, it will be safe or it is not create any problem. Once you started heating it, then it will get unstable. Then health hazard, which is a normal material or which is in a slightly hazardous to health or which is very hazardous and also deadly. So this is also one of the way of representing. Okay, if it is a white, they will mention mostly this symbol, water reactive. That is the only other hazard you could see. Now we'll see what are the safety and the risk phrases you could see. These phrases are, I can say that these are the warning signs or safety precautions which are supposed to be followed while handling any kind of chemicals. We'll see the some of the phrases here. So if you see the safety phrases, there are two different phrases. Safety phrase and risk phrases. Safety phrases are which are nothing but what kind of safety precautions to be followed. For example, if you see here, keep locked up, which means it should be always in lock. Keep locked up and out of reach of the children. So there are two conditions. It has to be under lock and key provision, and it should be away from the children. Then keep out of reach of people, and then keep away from the living quarters, and keep containers tightly closed. Keep containers tightly closed and dry. These are the various safety precautions which will give us the do's, what to be done. Your voice is not clear. So what about others? Anybody is having issue with my voice? Any issue? Is it my voice is clear?